Next up is Benjamin Kott of Energydeck.
Thanks, Jan. Okay, so I've already got my answer to my last question about fundraising. I think I have to switch jobs again, become an associate at a big VC firm and then come back and do this again. I'm going to talk about, I feel like I'm in really good company this morning because I had lots of people talking about things that are close to my heart. And in a way, I feel like this can, in some form, wrap it up. We're certainly working on the coolness factor still. It's a slightly bit more technical than some of the things we've seen this morning. But hopefully it can still excite people here. So this again is sort of preaching to the choir just as a focus. This is what I just said. We're focusing exactly on the built environment. 40% of all energy is consumed in buildings. Most of the buildings we have today are going to be around in 40 years when we have all those carbon reduction targets. 30% of energy is wasted. And Steve, I was outside for a minute. I'm not sure if you actually mentioned that figure, but the 8 billion per year is from one of your articles. That could be saved in the UK just by reducing building consumption by 20%, which is not unachievable at all. So this is the sort of context we're operating in. What is Energydeck? So Energydeck is really three things, two of which we've built to date. On the one hand, you have your resource tracking platform. It's a web-based platform for resource management in organizations, and as you will see in a minute, also in residential properties, with a slightly different angle to what we've just seen. So we've built a dashboard or a platform that can take inputs from meters, it can take manual inputs, it can take data that's uploaded for electricity, gas, water, waste, travel, transportation. And what we do with this data is we crowdsource it from all the users, we show it back to you, visualize it in meaningful ways, but also we're building our own benchmarks for how specific buildings should perform in specific contexts and environments. So these benchmarks are going to be much more granular than what you typically get from national statistics. The second thing we're doing is we're building a best practice database. So we heard this morning about vendors, about different products and services in the sector, and nobody really knows how much are they actually saving, because there's lots of claims from the different vendors, but the experiences are often different. There's not very good data about them. So what we're looking to do is to build this database, which is all supported with fundamental data, which is the sort of data circle you're seeing, the consumption data, in order to then share, anonymize all those measures that have been put into the platform, anonymize them, share them with all the users so everybody can benefit and see when and where has this measure been applied and what was the impact. The third thing we're going to build once we have 1 and 2 at a critical mass is a supplier marketplace, which means new business models as well. So once you have all of that and you want to find out who can implement a specific lighting product for me to make my building more energy efficient or HVAC, who are the suppliers out there? We've got certain sort of community-based features, so you've got groups across which you can share these informations. For instance, if you want to get together with other schools and make it more relevant to you, you can do that through the platform. Lots of talk about how it all works. This is what it looks like. Actually, some of the screenshots, some of the views have progressed since these screenshots were taken. Basically, you can see there's a dashboard aspect to it. We can go very deep technically in smart meter analytics. We can overlay degree days, run regression analysis, and so on. The idea is to hide it all away at some point and just show to the user what they really need. And as you can see there, the sort of portfolio benchmarking, you can benchmark against your own portfolio, against other portfolios of people in your group, so it becomes very relevant. And you can also get a little glimpse of the project database there. The platform is openly available, is free to use for basic users on energydeck.com, so you can just sign up and see all these views yourself. Now, who are we targeting with that? So we're interesting to hear about Tado earlier. So we're sort of steering clear of the residential market, at least in a direct way right now, because one, we're probably lacking the coolness factor to an extent, and also the distribution channel. Two, it's about the need or the pain that people have. Why would they use this sort of product? So we're focusing on two sectors directly. One is commercial real estate, which is large property managers, investors, but also large tenants, so imagine corporates, who already have a need to gather the data, aggregate it, use it for reporting purposes, and also they start understanding the energy consumption, although we could always use more data, obviously. And you can see some examples of customers we have. There's some even more recognizable icons that I would have liked to put up there, but we're in advanced negotiations with them, and they're not yet ready to put up there. The second sector we're talking to, or we're working in, and we're about to close a large deal, and one of them is social housing. So there, yes, you have residents at the end of it, It's not quite at the level where they can use a sort of very cool thermistor, but it's just about the metering and getting the data from them and allowing them to interact with the platform in some shape or form. And there you have a strong need, because the need is food or fuel. Because very often people in that context are in fuel poverty, and really they understand the energy bill really well. And the social housing landlord understands that they need to do something. They need to get better understanding of the data, of the consumption, or to help people. So this is where we come in. And thirdly, we have sort of channel partners which target the in-between market SMEs and so on. So for them, we're addressing the need of having to differentiate or adding additional value-added services to their portfolio. One specific aspect of Energydeck is that we're really in a position to provide a common platform for all users in the building management stack, as we call it. If you take any sort of commercial building, you have at least those 4 levels, from the landlord or investor, even 1 level up, through to the tenant. People have siloed platforms. They don't talk to each other. Data is not widely available. Different metering systems, spreadsheets everywhere. We can provide a platform where everybody can participate to it and input the data in flexible ways and access the data in a way that makes sense to them. And then horizontally, each operator in that stack obviously has a different portfolio with different constellation, configuration every time. So again, they can use Energydeck to dock that against their sort of first portfolio. And then you can bring in auditors and consultants and contractors and so on as well. What about our financial sustainability? It's always a good question. So we raised some funds early this year, 200K, and looking to raise a larger round next year. And in terms of business model, what we're doing is, right now we have a rather straightforward subscription-based model. It's based on the meter. Meter is the sort of unit in Energydeck, is the input feed. It can be physical meter, it can be any metric that you want to track. It could be construction waste in terms of tons of construction waste or whatever, or a fleet and miles traveled. Plus sort of service fees around it. We're doing some consulting. We're getting asked to do more about smart metering, help our customers with the metering aspect, understand that, be the main contractor for that. And of course, from the marketplace, there's some future opportunities there as well. As for the team, I myself, my claim to fame, I normally start my presentation saying what I'm not doing, but what I have done, which is working for Google in energy efficiency and sustainability, and also was one of 2 people in Europe working Google Power Meter, which was Google's initiative in the energy visibility and utility energy space. We've got our CTO, highly technical from banks, with a background in banking systems. We've got a business director who's worked in real estate, both commercial and in the public sector, and our project manager and several advisors who you can see on the screen. And I think this is it. Thank you very much. 10 seconds left. Fantastic timekeeping, I have to say. By myself.
Wonderful,
Yeah.
wonderful.
I've never done that. Anything like that. 0-0. Okay.
Perfect landing. So how many clients do you have in total up to now?
Well, you've seen, so we distinguish between users and customers. So the customers you've seen there, and there's sort of others that are not yet on the list, but they're in sort of different stages of a trial process. This is essentially B2B right now, so you have slightly longer sales cycles and you're working with them for a longer time. So there's another 10 to 20 that I'm hoping to put up on the list. In terms of registered users, we have about, I think, just about 1,000 users who are registered on the platform, manage a couple thousand buildings and many more meters as well.
But the business model is already proven.
Yeah, the business model is proven, so we are generating revenue. So we have got the proof of concept, we've got the proof of market, now we need to bring the proof of scale. So this is all about, if you look at the social housing sector, for instance, the project we're looking at now is a project with 200 units that are going to be fully submetered. The sort of fees from this project are going to be quite relevant. And these are 200 units, and social housing has 6 million units in the UK alone. And obviously this whole thing is transferable to other markets as well. The big problem is data availability, is the metering. And we all know in Europe it's going to happen, yes, by 2020 and so on. But in the next 3-4 years, you have to find ways of generating data that's reliable, but in a way that doesn't break the bank.
And do you already have customers outside of the UK, or they're all UK based?
Yeah, we have a couple customers in the US. We have people in Germany, and but smaller sort of groups of people.
You have a German interface already, or is it
Not yet,
English?
no. So the platform itself is obviously, being web-based and all that, but also we take emission, we take degree days from all the weather stations, we take emission factors from IEA, and so on. So the platform, and we convert between, pounds of steam and kilowatt hours, whatever. Platform is fully international at its core. The localization of the front end still has to be done, and that will come with and Italy, I forgot, with possibilities in the different markets.
And how much is your life different now being an entrepreneur compared to Google?
Well, that's a good question. Actually, at Google, you feel, at my time, you still felt like you were in a very entrepreneurial company, and the company, in a way, Google sets you up to be an entrepreneur. So the saying is, when you leave Google, you either join a startup or you start a startup, and that's what I've done. Okay. So in a way, it's a continuation of what I've done before.
So you have been an entrepreneur all your life?
For a while, yeah. Yeah, certainly I'd say that.
And your background is aerospace, right?
Background is aerospace engineering. Then I went into management consulting. Then I went back into sort of the energy space a little bit, MBA and all that. So yeah, long.
So we hope you find some new investors here to make your project really fly.
Yeah, fantastic.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
The clicker we need.